This conference will now be recorded.
So, where we are? Yeah. So yesterday we have started seeing of your ALV. So what is an ALV? ALV is a tool that has been provided by SAP with all the predefined functions like your sorting, sorting. If I want to do sum, so totaling, and I want specific, I mean sales order sums, let's say. So it's a summation, or if I want to do a sorting, if I want to do a emailing, or if I want to download, etc, etc, etc. So all these things, all the code that belongs to that has been provided by SAP by default. You don't need to write down your logic. So just you need to pass the pass the internal table, and everything will be taken care by your SAP. So ALV tool uses the function module approach. The function module approach. So that means when you want to display the data in the form of your ALV, you need to use your function module. So I told you what are the different types of function modules that are available. So reuse ALV list display, reuse ALV grid display, reuse ALV commentary write, reuse ALV events get, reuse ALV hierarchy list display, reuse ALV block list display. These are some of the major ALVs that we are going to be used in our project. So that too before the oops has been came up into picture. Once the oops has been came up into picture, so we are using the oops based method to display the data in the output in the output. So, but there are so many places where SAP is using reuse ALV, and there are so many employees who are working in SAP ABAP, still they are using reuse ALV grid display. Reuse ALV grid display or reuse ALV list display. Okay, so what are the topics we are going to cover as part of this course? The first one is ALV with the structure. So the structure which is belongs to SE11. I want the entire data of a particular table to be gets displayed. Then you will be using with ALV with structure. ALV with field catalog. I want specific fields of a table to be gets displayed in the output. Then you will be using ALV with field catalog. And what are the different things that you can perform on your field catalog that we are going to see. And then layout options. What are the layout options we can able to perform on your ALV? Like I want to do a summing, or I want to make the zebra color, so black and white I want to make it, or I want my entire data to be gets editable. I don't want the horizontal lines to be gets displayed. I don't want the vertical lines to be gets displayed, like that. So like that. So depends upon your requirement, you can do it. Then ALV with the grand totals and subtotals, if I want to do the grand totals and subtotals. So these are inbuilt options that has been provided, but I want to write down that following details directly from the code. You can able to do it. And then ALV with the top of page, end of list, and the logo. How can you add your logo? How can you add your top of page? And how can you add your end of list? And then we are going to see interactive ALV. So, and then we are going to see interactive ALV by calling a transaction code in SAP, and then hierarchical ALV and block list ALV. These are the ALVs which we are going to see. So now let's get started. So the first and the foremost ALV we are going to see is ALV with structure. ALV with structure. So now I'm going to SE38. So I'm going to say ZR 7 AM, and then I'm going to take ALV with structure. So now I'm going to click on create. So example program ALV with structure. I'm going to take this as executable program. Let me click on save this and let me provide your package as well as your PR. Now, so you need to write no standard page heading, that's for sure. And whatever the message ID you are going to use for your particular module. So let's say you are going to create for your so you have to provide the message ID for that particular message ID. So this is for sure you have to provide it. Okay. So now the next one. So requirement. What is my requirement? So my requirement is I want to display the data of uh, which table, MKPF. So which is nothing but material documents header table. So this data I want to show you. I want all the data to be get shown. So now what is the first event? I'm just going with start of selection. So as I'm going to write with an inline declarations, I don't want to create your data types and my types declaration. So I'm just going with select star from MKPF into table at the rate data of GT underscore MKPF. I'm just going to say up to 100 rows. So the first 100 rows to be gets displayed. Now I have the data. So I'll just say order by primary key. So whatever the key which is there in my MKPF. So I want to do my sorting too. So then I want to display my data. Previously, what you will be writing with loop at gt underscore mkpf into data of gs underscore mkpf, and you will be going ahead with our write statements. So that has been removed. So you have to use your function module. What is the function module to display the data? So either you can use your reuse ALV, grid display, or I can able to use my reuse ALV, the list display. So these are the two function modules you have to use. Either one of these you have to use. But 99% we will be always using this. But I would say I never seen anyone who is using reuse ALV list display. So because look and feel wise, reuse ALV grid display will be more beautiful. And even when you are going ahead with your oops ALV or the simplified ALV, we will be using the grid format only. We will never ever use your list format. Okay. So now let me go ahead and do that. So how to call this? So click on the pattern, and what is the function module? Reuse ALV grid display. I'm just going to say just enter. So what are the details here you have to pass? So in the tables, see all these are optional parameters of your reuse ALV, and only this is the mandatory parameter. So here in this table, I need to pass my internal table PF and raise your exceptions. Whatever the exceptions you have, just go ahead and raise that exceptions. And then as you are going to provide this in the exporting, always provide your callback program. Because why I'm writing this, I'm going to write that in my includes. You remember that? So in the includes and inside your subroutines, you are going to write. So that the same include, we can go ahead and use that at multiple places. The same include, we can go ahead and use that at multiple places. So for that reason, you have to use your callback program. So what is the callback program? You need to provide the current program name, the main program name. Don't provide the include program name. So the main program name, you have to provide it. So in order to get that, you need to use a system variable called as cprog. Cprog. In like how you have your sysabc or siteabix or index or like that, you will also have one more system variable called as your cprog. So this cprog is used to get the current program name. And then I want to get my entire structure details. You have to provide your I underscore structure name, which should be mkpf. See, whatever you are going to provide in between the quotations, so that has to be always be in your capital letters. That has to be always in your capital letters. So rest remaining things, I'm just going to delete this. I don't want any other details. So like if you need a background, you can also provide your background ID. If you need, so if I want to provide a layout options, so you have to just fill out this layout. So if it is a field catalog, you have to fill your field catalog. If it is a sorting, if you want to do your subtotalings, then you have to fill your is sort. And if you want to fill any filtering conditions, you can just go ahead and filter. You can just do the filtering of data inside your program like that. If I want to have a default variant, you can just provide your default variant. All these things you can able to do this with the directly from your program. If they are asking, you can directly do it. So but in my requirement, I don't have any such kind of a things. So now I don't need that. So this is how you need to just pass the details. That's it. Check this, no issues. And then I'm just going to activate. Now when I click on execute, see here, see how beautifully the layout is going to be shown, or how beautifully the output is going to be shown. So here there is a sorting, and if you want a filter, you can do a filter. Or if I want to have the total, you can do your totals. But the totals you can able to do it on your quantities or on your prices, not for any other things. You can't able to do it. So like this. Or if I want to do the print preview, you can able to do your print preview. So excel sheet, like you want to get the download, you can able to download this, all these things. So if I just say click on excel, it will just trying to open, but there is a template missing. This template has to be installed by your basis in your real time. This template format has to be installed by your basis in your real time. So if you are getting this information, you have to contact your basis that this template is missing. Kindly install this template into SAP, then you can able to see your Excel format. When you click on this, it will directly open that in your Excel sheet. Now in the same way, if you want to download to your local file, so how you want to download that in your local file? We usually, if you are getting that template missing error, we usually ask us to click on this one to download. Or if I want to send an email, you can do a emailing. If I want to show that in a graphic, you can able to do a graphic. Or if I want to change the layout, I can just go ahead and change the layout. What are the required fields I want? I just go ahead and provide those required fields, and rest remaining fields you can just hide it out. So these are the things that you can able to perform on your ALV. So this is what. Now when you are going to see with your list, the field parameters, everything is the same. I'll just change the name to list. So if I go ahead and just say activate this, so this is how the list format will be. But compared to the list, the look and feel wise, the grid format will be so beautiful. So that's the reason we will always go ahead with your grid format. We'll always go ahead with your grid format. Here, these are the properties of your field. These are the key fields. So automatically the key fields are showing up. Automatically the key fields are showing up, if you can see here, automatically. So now this is what all your grid as well as your list display, and this is what all your ALV with your structure. Any questions in this, guys? Okay, I'll be considering it as no questions, and then we'll see the next thing is called as ALV with structure. I'll just copy our for all entries program. I'll just copy this for all entries program, and I'll just try to make the things over here. Okay, so now this for all entries, I'll go ahead and do another one more copy. So if I want to make a copy of this, so just click on copy. So target program, I'm going to say ALV with structure, ALV with the structure, and then I'm going to work on this program directly. So all your ALV with so what are the other what are the other things? So I'm going to work with ALV with field catalog in the same program, ALV with the layout options in the same program, ALV with the grand totals and subtotals in the same program, ALV with the top of page, end of list and logo in the same program, and then interactive ALV I'm going to work in the same program. Interactive ALV for calling a transaction code also I'm going to work in the same program. All these things I'm going to show you in one single program itself. Okay, ALV with the structure. I'll just make a copy of this. I'll just select everything. So, and then I'll make a copy. So if you want to change the include name, you can just change the include name. I'll just copy it. I'll just go ahead and paste it over here. Example ALV with structure underscore F01, and then I'll just copy this one. I'll be pasting it over here underscore M01, and then underscore S01, and then I'm going to say it with your top. I'll just make a copy of this. I'll just save it in your package as well as in your TR. So now I'll go ahead and activate this program first of all. So I'll just go ahead and change this one. So see, I have copied everything. I'll just remove the unwanted details. I'll go to my M01. So all these things I want to remove it. The top of page, end of list, interactive reporting, everything, I don't need it. So, and then I'll be saving this one. I'll go back and I'll go to my F01. So selection screen validations, everything is there. Form get data, and I'm just going to fill this, and from this form display data, I'm just going to remove everything. I'm just going to remove everything and save this one. Go back. I'll go to my M01. I'll also just remove as of now. I'll just activate my program. Okay, so this is what my program is. Now, as you already know, so we have seen this program. What are the details? I need to get the following details from these tables, and we have created a top declaration. The types declaration, whatever the main structure you want, you have just created that your structure. For this, you have created your internal table as well as your work area. If you need it, you have to just go ahead and create your work area. So now you have done your now what I need, I have got the details. I have got the details and I have filled my internal table. I have filled my internal table with all the details, whatever I needed. I just fill my internal table. Okay. So now what is this ALV with field catalog? When we are going to use with ALV with the structure and ALV with field catalog. So ALV with the structure we will be using when you want to get the entire table data, entire table data to be displayed in the form of in the report, then we will use ALV with the structure. Whereas when I want to display the data in the form for the required fields from, if I we want to display the data, if I want to display the data of particular fields, of one single table, or joining with the multiple tables, joining with multiple tables, then we will use this ALV with field catalog. Then we will be using this ALV with field catalog. So this is what you need to understand, the differences between the ALV with the structure and ALV with field catalog. ALV with the structure and ALV with field catalog. So this is the difference between the ALV with the structure and ALV with field catalog. Now, when you go ahead and see my reuse ALV grid display, so let me open that in /OSC37, and I'm just opening with reuse underscore ALV underscore uh, grid display. Now if you want to fill the if you want to work with your field catalog, I need to fill. So to work with this we need to fill it underscore f it underscore field catalog, which will be an importing parameter. See here, it underscore field catalog, so which is of type sys underscore t underscore field catalog ALV. So which is of type sys underscore t underscore field catalog ALV. Now, so you have to take this structure, and whatever the fields that are there inside this structure, you have to fill that one. Now when I open this structure, if I double click on this, it will be going to show you the last one more pending concept of data dictionary, which is called as your type group. If I go to my SE11, so this is the one, the type group is the last pending concept of your data dictionary, which is nothing but your type group. So what is this type group? When you are going to create this type group, so the type group, the entire types definitions, you can store that in one type group. So if you have a common type definitions to be utilized at multiple programs, then we will be going to create that in the form of your type group. Then we will be going ahead and create in the form of your type group. That's called as your type group. Now we are going to see what is meant by this type group. Type group. So all the types declarations, all the types declarations. If I want to store, if we need to store at the global level, at the global level, so that we can use this types declaration in all the different programs. We can use that in the different programs. Then we will go ahead and create a type group. That means we will be making the types declaration at your global level. We'll be making the types declaration at your global level. If you think that this types declaration is going to be used at multiple places, then we will be going ahead and creating your type group. But usually in real time, we will never ever create this type group for sure. As my experience of 15 years, or right now by okay 15.5 years, so we never ever created any type group. I never ever created, because the requirements will be different from one person to another person. We will never ever get a unique requirement. If there is a unique requirement, then what is the fun for doing that? Anyways, we can also, if that is a unique requirement also, you can just call that include program directly. We can just call that include program directly into our program. So, and we can make our changes. So we don't need to go ahead and do that in your types. But if the common details, there is an option that SAP has been provided, you can go ahead and create your, excuse me, you can go ahead and create your type group. Okay, so that's SAP has provided one more option, how to work with your type group. So in order to work with your type group, so I'll just going with your SE11. So here this is of your 5 length, 5 characters. So I'm just going to take Z7AM T type group. Z7AM type group. So, or else we in real time, so we will be working with the ZTHD type group, or ZTTHD type group, like that, or ZTGHD. So the type group for HD or the type group for MM, like that you will be working with. Okay, so Z7AM, I'm just going with my type group. I'll just go ahead and click on create. So I'll take this as the type group for 7 a.m. batch, and I'll just click on the save. I'm going to save that in your package as well as in your TR. So now the types declarations what you have, you can just provide it over here. So the same thing, types begin off, begin off. So here you have to start with, so you will be writing with as CTY underscore some final, like that you will be writing it, right? So but you have to start with Z7AM underscore. The name of the type group, you have to provide it in every begin of and end of. Every types name you have to provide that name. You have to provide that name, and I'll going to take this as VBAK, and let's take VBELN type, VBELN underscore VA, and then ERNAM type, ERNAM, and ERDAT type, ERDAT, and then VKORG type, VKORG, VTWEG type, VTWEG, and then SPART type, SPART. So, and then you will be writing this end of G7AM underscore VBAK. G7AM underscore VBAK is the one, is the type. So now you can also define your table types. So I'll just say table types. So G7AM T underscore TT underscore VBAK type standard table of G7am underscore VBAK initial size 0. So just give me 1 minute, guys.
Hello. Hello.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so this is what, so this is your type stick, so this is your table types, and this is what your types declaration is. Now I'll just activate this one. Now, so this is what, so you are making the types declaration to your global level. Now you can directly call this in your program. So to call this in your program, let me go ahead and create one more program, SC38. I'm just going to take calling the type group. Calling the type group, I'll just go ahead and click on create the type group, and I'm going to take this as executable program. Just click on save this. Okay, so I'm going to take this as no standard page heading, and whatever the message ID you want. Now, previously what you will be writing, you will be writing your types declaration. So anyways, right now we are going with your inline declarations. So all these are gone, and then you will be right. So this types declaration, you have make it as at your global level. So how to call that types declaration into a program? So if your ABAP of stack version, so let's say you are working with an ECC system, which is less than 6.0. So ECC ERP 6.0, very old session, very old system. So that means early 2000s, early 2000 systems. You will be using a syntax called as your type group. Sorry, type pool. So type pools is a keyword you have to provide, and you need to provide your type groups. You need to provide your type group name. So this is the syntax you have to use it at the starting of your program before you're declaring. So this early 2000s you are going to use it. After ECC 6.0 onwards, so this is an optional syntax. This is an optional syntax. If you use it or if you don't use it, nothing will happen. If you use it or if you don't use it, no one is going to take it. No one is going to ask you. So I'm not going to use it. So I'm directly going to my data declaration. So I'm going to create my internal table data gt underscore VBAK type. I'll just go ahead and call this one. I'll just go ahead and call this one, and then gs underscore VBAK type. I'll just go ahead and call my structure name. My structure name. So and this is the structure name. So these are the details you will be having it. And now the rest remaining things are the same. So start of selection, start of selection. So I'll just take select what are the fields I have. So Alt Shift right arrow and then down arrow. I'll copy this. I'm going to provide it over here from VBAK into table. So I'll just go ahead and write with my new syntaxes. So from VBAK into table at the rate GT underscore VBAK, I'll just say up to 500 rows and then order by, I'll be taking this as VBLN. And then if I want to display the data, I'll just say loop at, so loop at GT underscore VBAK into GS underscore VBAK. I'm just writing my pretty old syntaxes, right? I'll be just taking this as GS underscore VBAK hyphen VBELN, comma, GS underscore VBAK hyphen ERNAM, comma, GS underscore VBAK hyphen ERTAT, comma, GS underscore VBAK hyphen VKORG, comma, GS underscore VBAK hyphen VTWEG, and GS underscore VBAK hyphen SPART. So that's it. Now I'll just do my pretty printer. I'll just activate my code. So now when I click on execute, so this is what the data is. So you're just removing your types declaration and data declarations and you're making that to a global. So if I use this syntax also, nothing will happen. Sorry. If I use this syntax also, nothing will happen. Do your pretty printer and let's get activate the code and let me click on execute. So this is the old syntax. So pretty old, but this is an optional. So this is what your type groups are. Now for all your reuse ALV, SAP has created all the types declaration in a type group called as your SLIS. Now if I go here, you can see a type group called as your SLIS. So whatever the field catalog or layout or anything, so they have been done with your type group. So you need to go inside to your function module level and you have to see what is its corresponding type, and and what are the fields that you have. So if I go to this field catalog ALB, now this is of types list underscore. So occurs one is a pretty old syntax. This is of your table type and this is the old syntax. The new syntax is this one, that type standard table of, you will be writing it, or else you can just say occurs one. You can just say occurs one. So this is the pretty old syntax. The pretty old syntax. So this, if you go to the attributes, see here, this has been changed in 2010. So 2010. So it has been created in the early 2000s or 1995s. It has been created. So at that time, this is the syntax they have been used for your table types. This is a syntax they have been used for your table types. But right now, SAP has been changed to type standard table of. So this is the latest syntax. Now, if I go to this field catalog ALB, and now they have been calling. One second, guys. So they have been calling another two more types. So the dot include, you have seen it, right? In the same way, internally, if I want to call a structure, you'll be just writing it as include type. So now if I go to my main specification, you will be having main 0. So here you have your fields. The what is the row position, what is the column position, what is the field name, what is the table name. If you have a currency and currency field unit, so current table name, what is the initial column, quantity, quantity field name, reference. So I told you currency and quantity, you need to provide the references so that SAP can display the data in that particular country format. In that particular country format, it will go ahead and display the data. So for that, you have to provide your quantity, currency field name, and currency field unit. What is the currency field unit? You have to provide that. So all these things, if I want to make it as a key field, or if I want to make it as a checkbox, or if I want to remove the leading zeros, if I want to remove the leading zeros, or I don't want the sign to be gets populated, and I don't want the zero, or I want edit mask like the fixed length, I want to do the summation, totaling, do sum is nothing but your totals. So output length I want to define. So if I want to provide my own field names, you can just provide your old field names like that. You can just change the properties of the particular field. You can just change the properties however you want of that particular field. You can just change the properties. If I go to this name one, you will be having so many other things, so many other things. So like that. So like this, you can just, you have to provide these field names and its field values, you need to provide it. And then for every field of your structure, you have to provide it. So for VBALN, you have to provide these all these details, whatever the details you want. And for ERNAM, you have to provide it. For ERDAT, you have to provide it. For VKORG, you have to provide it. For VTWEG, you have to provide it. For SPART, you have to provide it. For every field, you have to provide all these properties, whatever the properties that are required for that particular field, you have to provide it. Okay, you have to provide it. And then this you need to, that internal table, you need to provide it into your reuse ALV grid display in IT underscore field catalog. In IT underscore field catalog, you just need to provide it. So then you don't need to provide your structure name. So this is your SE11. Right now, you don't need to provide this. Instead of that, we will be providing this field catalog, and then we are going to provide your internal table. So that's it. So this is what you have to do it in case of your field catalog. The coding part we will be checking in your tomorrow's session. Okay. So that's it. So that's the end of today's session. Before I signing off for today's session, any other questions? Okay, I'll be considering it as no questions, and we'll meet you tomorrow at the same time, 7 o'clock, and we'll continue with our session. Thank you. Thank you all.